There is a community of white people in Thunder Bay who have made it a tradition to throw things at visibly indigenous people walking down the street. And by tradition, I mean this has been going on for generations. It happened when I was a child, when I was a teenager, and it is still happening in Thunder Bay. So, my question to you is what can we do to disrupt this racist tradition that keeps being passed down in Thunder Bay, Ontario? How can we disrupt this hate crime that these people keep doing to us? I was raised in Thunder Bay, Ontario. When I was about 13 years old, that was the first time that someone threw something at me from a vehicle. And I was walking down the street, it was nighttime, and a group of white men threw a beer bottle at me, and the glass smashed in front of me, and it just went everywhere. And they yelled, they called me a squaw, and they called me a lot of other names, but I don't want to put it on here. My sister has had things thrown at her. She was out one night, and she was walking down D Street, and a car full of white men threw a crowbar at her. And they missed her, luckily. And what everyone didn't know then was that there was an undercover police car that was sitting there. So as soon as the police car saw that this car threw something at my sister, they put on their lights and they went chasing after the car. And a few minutes later, the police car came back to my sister and they said, "Don't worry, they're not going to do that again. We scared them." So the undercover police car, they didn't even charge those men for what they did. Like, they could have hurt my sister. And when my mom was walking down the street near the East End by the bridge, it was broad daylight out, and she was walking with my baby niece who was 2 years old at the time, and they were in a stroller. And she was just walking down the street, and someone from a car threw a water bottle, and it just missed the stroller. And if it hit my niece, my niece would have been killed, because they were going fast, and like, she was so little. And like, my mom didn't know what to do, so she just yelled at them and kept going, because that's our normal. My cousin Barbara Kentner was walking home on the night of January 29th, 2017. And it happened again. And someone drove by and they hit her in the stomach with this huge trailer hitch. 6 months later, she died from her injuries. Shortly after she was hit, they did make an arrest. They arrested Braden Bushby, and they charged him with second-degree murder. And recently, they downgraded the charges to manslaughter. We are now relying on the Ontario court system to hold Braden Bushby accountable for what he has done. And with the track record of colonial courts and Indigenous lives, I don't have faith that he will be held accountable. To this day, non-Indigenous people are practicing this tradition of throwing things at visibly Indigenous people walking down the street. So how many more Indigenous people are going to be hurt by this tradition? How many more Indigenous people are going to be killed by this tradition? How many more people are going to have the emotional scars by having garbage thrown at them? Water bottles, bricks, crowbars, slushies. How long is this going to happen? How long is this going to keep going on? I got so used to having things thrown at me from moving vehicles, I didn't even think it was racism. For me, it was normal. There was one point in time when I had something thrown at me, but I had a cell phone, and I called the police and I said, "Someone just threw something at me." And they said, "Well, are they still there?" I'm like, "No." did you get their license plate? I'm like, no, it happened so fast. They're like, well, we'll send someone in an hour. And I was like, okay. So I just figured whatever. I just kept going. So it's like, I don't know. Like, the police don't take it seriously. They don't charge anyone. And if they do, like, it gets dragged out. And the court system doesn't hold the people accountable. It wasn't until I was 27 years old and I was walking with my husband and he said, was Thunder Bay racist when you lived there? And I was like, no, not really. I'm like, people would throw things at me from moving vehicles, but they didn't do it to my face. So I don't think that's racism. And then my husband, he looks at me and he says, D, that's racist. Like, that's racism. And I was like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, I guess it is. So, like, how long is this going to be normal in Thunder Bay? I'm very tired of this being the normal. It is still happening. I left Thunder Bay 12 years ago and people messaged me and they said, yes, Deanne, it's still happening. It happens all the time. Every Indigenous person in Thunder Bay has a story of having something thrown at them. Doesn't matter if you have a baby with you. It doesn't matter if you're a senior citizen. Everyone has a story. If you're walking down the street, you're getting something thrown at you. Everyone has experienced it, no doubt. So I would like to invite everyone who has had a story to use the hashtag #RacistThunderBay and share your story. Let's bring everyone's stories together. Let's put it all out there for everyone to see, this messed up normal that we have to live with. So I want people to, like, make a Facebook status. Use the hashtag #RacistThunderBay. Share your story. Put it on Instagram. Use the hashtag #RacistThunderBay. Tell the story of how you've had something thrown at you and how it hasn't made you feel. Like, it makes me feel like garbage. Like, it's terrible. And, like, our whole city is so complacent in this. Make a status on Twitter using the hashtag #RacistThunderBay and share your story of how you have had things thrown at you. I remember talking to a woman. She came here to work from Thunder Bay and she was wearing her orange shirt on Orange Shirt Day. And she said she was scared to wear it because she didn't want people to throw things at her. And this was like a cookum, like a grandmother, like. So Braden Bushby will be going, he is on trial for manslaughter and his court date is October 14th, 2020. And because of the track record of colonial court systems, I do not have faith that he will be held accountable. Since my cousin Barb has passed away, she left behind her daughter, Serena Kentner. Serena has been diagnosed with leukemia. And she will be going to Ottawa. She's flying out to Ottawa on October 15th, 2020 for a bone marrow transplant. And I've started a GoFundMe to support her and so she can support herself while she's in Ottawa for 100 days while she grows new bone marrow. So I invite everyone to donate to her GoFundMe. She needs the support and yeah, she needs to know that we care about her. She needs to know like she's not forgotten. That's all we can do because like I have no faith in the justice system. I don't think they already reduced his charges. He's probably gonna get some deal. He's gonna get a slap on the wrist or get acquitted completely and get off scot-free. So yeah, I created this GoFundMe to support Serena, so at least she'll have money to buy food while she's doing her bone marrow transplant. If we can come together and if we can share all of our stories and if people can see, this isn't just Barb, this isn't just me and my family, this is like every Indigenous person in Thunder Bay. If people could see that, then we'll have truth. And then like, let's make a plan to protect everyone. Let's disrupt this racist hate crime that these non-Indigenous people practice and get away with. Like they don't get to take responsibility for their actions. So let's put the spotlight on them. Like, let's make some videos. If you get hit with an egg, like, make a video. Let's publish all of these violent racist men. And like, when I was a teenager, it was like always young white men who would be like throwing their beer bottles at me, yelling racial slurs at me from their cars. And like, it's so heartbreaking because it's still happening. So please share your story, hashtag Racist Thunder Bay, and tell your story of having things thrown at you. And please consider donating to Serena's GoFundMe, because she needs to know that she's loved, and she needs to know that her community cares about her. So, yeah, miigwech and Bama P.